Hi everyone, welcome back to Tea Musinto. Grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking, go and get that. Couple of things. One, I am a bit under the weather, so apologies for that in advance. Two, I am not in my location the way I usually film, so everything has been a tad bit chaotic, but I appreciate you all giving me your time, being here tonight. I do have Raja behind the scenes. I'll hit the intro and he'll be on stage and we'll have a conversation about his life. This is his story. This is not a debate. This is not a gotcha. It's none of that. Um, I saw some of his TikToks. I was fascinated by his story and I wanting to learn more. I have a ton of questions. So we're going to be listening to him, hearing his story, find out more about him. I won't introduce anything further than that. And I have questions, obviously. And then we can do a debrief at some other time. So without further ado, I'm going to hit the intro. We're going to come back and I will have Raja on. Drop a one before I go if you can hear me very well. I think I'm losing my voice, but drop a one if you can hear and see me very well. The lighting in this hotel is atrocious. The lighting in this hotel is absolutely atrocious. So I want to apologize for that. All right, you guys say everything is good. Cool. All right, I'm gonna hit the intro, come back, and then Raja will be on the stage. Hey, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well, doing well. So, full disclosure, the first time we had a conversation was just now, and it was a lovely conversation before we came on. But I want you to introduce yourself to the audience before we get into a conversation more broadly.
Okay. My name is Rahja Rose. I'm from Arizona. I recently got out of prison. I did 12 years straight from 17 to 29 years old. And I've just been out trying to build a platform, a social media platform that inspires people, encourages people. And I'm also in my own way seeking redemption because I haven't made the best decisions of my life. And some of them I can never make right. So um sometimes I feel like the best I could do is like help people avoid them situations or, help them find a way out of them situations before, it gets too bad to where there's a point of no return.
Gotcha. There's a one question that I want to ask in the beginning. When I asked you about yourself, you started with your sentence. Why?
Yeah, so I did 12 years flat in Arizona State Penitentiary because I caught a felony unaliving. I don't know if the words here are the same as TikTok, like what
Oh,
you
you
can and
can say
can't.
whatever you want. We can say the actual word. You can, but the question I was asking is usually when I ask someone who they are, they tell me the good parts of them, but you started with um your sentencing and also that you're seeking redemption.
Yeah, I feel like it's important to um I just feel like it's such a key part of my development and who I am as a man today that I can't separate my time in prison and from who I am and who I'm gonna be. So, and plus, I think it's important for me to. I know people are gonna judge me. I know people are gonna, think what they want to think, but I just lead with that because that's the worst of me. And if you want to decide to take a chance to listen to me or hear what I got to say, then that's on you. But I just get all the bad stuff out the way immediately. It makes me more comfortable, to be honest with you. Like
Gotcha.
even once I got out, I don't like to beat around the bush. I did some time in prison.
All right. So you are doing a channel. Can you tell us generally what your channel is about? I'm thinking you're on, I see you on TikTok and I know you're on YouTube also.
Yeah. My channel is basically primarily focused around. I'm still figuring out like my voice, like as far as like a brand, but it's primarily around like overcoming struggles, personal development, and it's mixed with like fitness and art. But the overarching theme of my message is overcoming obstacles in life. Yeah.
Got it. So I think everyone, I'm watching the chat, and I think there's a lot of curiosity with um, what happened. You said 17, then you got sentenced. I think your trial was at 17, but the crime happened at 16, right? Am I mistaken?
Yeah, no, you're dead on. I just only thing I didn't go to trial. I signed a plea, but yeah, it happened when I had just turned 16.
Gotcha. All right. So before we get to the crime and the issues and what happened there, um, one of the reasons, and I need to say this up front, one of the reasons I really, really wanted to talk to you was when I got introduced to your channel, there was a very specific comment. And you were responding to this comment where someone said, if they did what you do, they could not live with themselves. Obviously, this was an attempt at an attack, but you did not attack back. Instead, you attempted to show empathy to someone who was attempting to attack you. Do you remember that? And why did you approach it the way that you approached it? And how did you approach it?
Yeah, I remember exactly what you're talking about. It was I think a video of me responding to somebody that had asked me a question, and then this person had chimed in, and so I responded to him with a video as well. And I basically told him that you'd be surprised what you could live with if you had to, and it was just an attempt for me to convey that um there has to be a level of empathy to try to understand somebody else's perspective. But at the end of the day, there's levels of everything, of course, but nobody is perfect, and there's a lot of people going through life with shame, guilt for what they've done. But at the end of the day, it's put it pretty blunt. It's like, what other option do I have? You just want me to tap out. You just want me to feel miserable about myself and hate myself, and then it's just not gonna happen. And most people, we're not wired like that. You're gonna find a way to cope. You're gonna find a way to survive, especially if you can use whatever you've been through to you can find the silver lining in it. It makes it a lot easier because I say it all the time. I've made my mistakes and my pain, they mean something because of the way I choose to live my life now. So it just has the opposite effect of I don't feel ashamed. I feel obviously I regret some of the stuff I've done, but I just use it to fuel me to be a better person. I was just trying to convey that to him because I'm not gonna get any benefit from attacking him, and I'm kind of I grew up in prison, so like arguing through the internet and like some of the stuff these people do, it's I'm just not on that type of time. It's just not for me.
Got it. And I did appreciate you highlighting the humanity instead of fighting back. And that brings us to, as someone who seems to be having a very high EQ in terms of your uh, ability to address people and the way you talk, the way you present on camera, what happened and why were you sentenced to 12 years? And did you spend all 12 years?
Excuse me. Yeah, so when I was 16 years old, I don't go into like super details, but I can give you guys the overall
Mhm.
circumstances. When I was 16 years old, fresh 16, I had turned 16 2 months before that. And just to help you guys understand a little bit, when I was 15 years old, I was living in a hotel with my family. We had lost our townhouse we was living in. So there was five of us living in a hotel. I had an older brother, but he was already in the streets. And while we were living in the hotel, the storage unit sold all of our shit. So I had nothing. My family had nothing. We're living in a hotel. And at some point living in the hotel, I get into an argument with my parents. They throw my possessions over the counter, over the balcony, which is like literally a shirt and some drawers, like one pair of shirt, one pair of drawers. So I go get it. They lock me out. After they lock me out, I start banging on the window, trying to get back in. Actually, they break the window. Long story short, the police come. The manager makes us leave. My parents are very upset that the manager's making us leave because we don't have any money, we don't have nowhere to go. So they tell the police that they want me to just go take a walk and cool off, but I'm trying to tell the police they're trying to leave me. The police don't want to listen to me. They side with my parents and like, look, you can go take a walk or you can go to jail. And I'm trying to explain to them I don't have any contact with anybody in my family. I don't have anybody like they're gonna leave me. And they're like, you can go take a walk, you can go to jail. So I told them I'll take a walk. I didn't leave though, and my parents left. They just let my parents leave. And then The police was gone too, and it was just me. So I ended up going to my homeboy's house, and at this point is when I started getting deeper into gang banging, deeper into the streets. I'm homeless, sleeping in parks behind dumpsters, shit like that. During this time, I made some bonds with some people who, according to the way I viewed the world at the time, it made it seem like they had my back to the fullest and they had my best interest at heart. So it was one of these people a couple months later that had called me. They told me they needed some help. They told me that they needed help paying their rent. And so this was somebody that had let me stay at their house. This was somebody that he's like a big brother to me. And now looking back, people be like, oh, well, they're corrupting you, but they were giving me love the best way they could give me love. So, they're giving me drugs to sell. They're giving me guns to protect myself. You feel what I'm saying? So I felt loyalty towards him, and I felt like if he needed anything, I would be there to help him. Leading to my case, he's the one that called me, told me he needed some help. So when he told me he needed some help, I didn't ask him what we were doing. I just told him, just come pick me up. I got your back. So he comes and picks me up. Mind you, he's young too. He's like 20, 21 too. We're all kids really. And we end up doing a home invasion. Um During the home invasion, somebody was tragically murdered. It was tragically murdered. And because of the nature of my crime, that it's inherently dangerous, I got charged like I had personally murdered this person. So if there was four of us, really there was five of us. Um, but one of them was a woman, and she ended up not getting in trouble. Really, she got probation. But the other four, excuse me, the four men, we all got charged with first degree murder. So it's called felony murder. I don't know if anybody in the chat's familiar with this, but because I was there, even though I didn't personally murder this person, I got charged with murder and seven other felonies, and that's how I caught my case.
Yeah. So for felony murder, the mens rea, the mental framework in wanting to commit the felony, at most states list a certain felonies that if you are in the process of committing this felony and someone dies, then you are also liable for the death, even if they can prove that you killed that person. If in the commission of the crime someone died, then you are now liable for that death. Um, so, big picture on kind of legal theory without getting too deep into it, what are your thoughts on felony murder?
Um, I feel like part of me definitely understands. You know what I mean? Part of me understands that if you go to do something that's obviously involving weapons and stuff like that, and somebody loses their life because you're going into the situation with weapons, it's going to be assumed that you're prepared to use these weapons, whether you really are or you're not. And if somebody loses their life, um, they're going to hold you accountable just like if you did it. I do think sometimes it could be kind of far reaching. I've seen um, instances when I'm in prison where somebody was charged with first degree, and I forget they were running from the police, and he crashed his car running from the police, and his brother died. His brother was in the car with him. They charged with first degree unaliving, and they gave him 83 years in prison because they charged him like if it was a murder. So I feel like stuff like that is too far. I feel like that's too far reaching. Um, I do think that in certain situations, not talking about me because I'm not trying to make it seem like, oh well, they did this to me. I don't have a victim mentality, but I do think in certain situations, minors uh maybe should be looked at differently than adults when it comes to felony murder. In some states they have like they don't use it on minors because of your brain, your development. You just don't view decisions in the world the same as an adult. So in certain instances like that, I think it could use some changes as well. But I mean, but I get it though. Yeah, so I get it.
Yeah, I think the general principle is deterrence. Um, because if you're going to commit a violent felony where people can be harmed, the assumption of risk should obviously be there. But there have been cases where the police shot someone, and the individual who was committing the felony was prosecuted for the murder, because the police shot someone. And so I think there are some legal theories around this that I do find issue and with and a bit problematic. But so you are now facing a murder charge, a felony murder charge, um, after breaking and entering, right?
A home invasion, yeah.
Home invasion. Um, what happened next?
So the next day we're all arrested, and they take us to the precinct, and because I'm a minor, two of us were actually minors. Me and one of my co-defendants are like 17 days apart, so we had both just turned 16, and two of us were legally adults. One was 19, one had just turned 21. So I remember, and it kind of like makes me mad because I remember when the police pulled us over. One of my older co-defendants, who I had looked up to, a lot of people had looked up to him in the neighborhood because he was reputable, he was in the streets, he had a name for himself. And I remember looking at him, and like the last thing he said was, "Oh my God, I'm going to jail." That's what he said. And so we're trying to like hide the pistols and stuff like that. And but I just remember looking at him, and it just like it's just I just had not I seen the side of him one time before, which was the previous night, which was like fear. I'm like, okay, like whatever. We go to the precinct. The police come to talk to me, and they're like, you're a minor. Do you want your mom here? I was like, yeah, I want my mom. I want you to call my parents. So I remember having this eerie feeling because the precinct they took me to was literally probably about like a 10-minute walk away from my mom's house, and I remember just obviously, I had got myself into this situation, but at the time I'm 16 years old. It's not an excuse, just explaining how I felt. I just remember wanting to go home very badly. I just remember wishing I could just walk through these doors and just go home and just be with my family. You know what I'm saying? Because I did feel, there was fear. There was fear about like what I didn't know what was gonna happen, and I just wanted to go home. So they called my
So,
mom, huh?
before we, I didn't want to cut you. So if you want to finish what you were saying, before they called your mom.
Oh yeah, they called my mom. And my mom comes, and they're pretty much like, they're trying to talk to me. My mom is in the background. Oh, well, first what they did is they let my mom in the room first. They let my mom in the room first by herself. So I hugged my mom, and I tried to like whisper to her to like try to tell her to give me an alibi, not knowing like the room's bugged. So they couldn't really hear me, but they could tell I was trying to tell something to my mom. I'm trying to tell my mom to give me an alibi. And she can't really make it out or whatever. And then so she can't like really make out what I'm saying because I'm whispering really, really low. Then the police come in there, and they're trying to ask me some questions. And they asked me if I understand what's going on. They asked me, I'm like, yeah, I'm being charged with first degree. I'm being this and that. And he's like, you know how long you're facing? I'm like, no, I don't know. And he's like, well, you're facing the standard is 25 to life in prison. So I'm like, okay. And the part that I was bringing up about my co-defendant, the reason I brought that up is because when they were taking me into the interrogation room, he's walking past me, and like he looks at me, and I look at him, and like I kind of gave him this look like I got your back still. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I looked at him, like I still got your back. Like I'm not gonna crack on you. Like I'm not gonna tell on you. You feel me? Cause I felt like I felt like this was my family at this point in my time. I know some people probably can't understand, but I'm like homeless and starving, and just we was all just trying to make it together. So bonds are built from struggle. And not knowing he had just got finished telling on everybody, including me. But they take me in there, and my mom just tells me, my mom's in the background, like lawyer, asked for a lawyer. So I was just like, I want a lawyer. And he's like, so you don't want to talk? You're facing all this time. You can go to prison for the rest of your life. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to talk. I just want a lawyer. So and that was the end of my interview. And because that was the end of my interview, my mom had to leave, and I wouldn't see my mom again until um I got sentenced, which would be years later. and then that would be the last time I seen my mom in person, for the rest of my life.
All right, so we're going to take a slight detour because something's interested me in your story thus far. Before we get back to sentencing and your mom, um, it sounded like your mom got a home at some point.
Yeah.
What was the relationship like? So they were in a hotel.
Hmm.
Um, you were told to go for a walk. You were essentially abandoned. Does the word abandoned trigger you? And is there another way you see what happened to you while you all were staying in the hotel room?
No, I was abandoned. Yeah, I was abandoned.
Uh, so, and then they got a home. What was the relationship like in the time frame where you are with your new friends? You guys committed a crime and you're getting charged. What was that relationship like with your family, your mom and your dad, and your brother?
So I had got arrested. So I was living in the streets, and during this time in the streets, there was a lot of first for me. First time I seen like extreme violence up close. First time I tried like certain drugs. Um, just life was just it was just chaos. You know what I'm saying? It was just chaos, and there would be a week where I didn't take my shoes off, didn't change my socks because I'm sleeping outside. I'm always like on the move, like constant, like nothing felt safe. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing shit I'm not supposed to be doing. I'm running from the police.
How old were you at this time?
I'm 15. I'm 15. So yeah, it was just a lot around that time. So I ended up getting arrested after like a month or two, and my auntie had actually came and picked me up because I got arrested. And my auntie was like, "Yeah, your mom and your dad, they got this little house. You know what I'm saying? It's really like a very small like shack. You know what I'm saying? But like she like they got this little house. I can take you back." So I had to go back because I needed a parent to like or a guardian because I'm underage. So I go back home, and there's just there's just no there's just nothing inside of me that views them as parents anymore. Like I just, and mind you, it's not like I was homeless for years, you know what I'm saying? But that time deeply affected me. It deeply affected me. I was not the same. You know what I'm saying? I
Do
wasn't the
you
same.
think you have to, do you think you have to defend how long you were homeless for?
I don't feel like I have to defend it, but you know, I'm just trying to I always try to come from. Now I don't want to be like sound like I'm exaggerating. I don't want to downplay anything. I just want to give it as neutral as I can, and then let people like come to their own conclusions. Like just try to tell what I view as truly the truth. Like no gimmicks, nothing like that. I don't know why I said that. But I just had a lot of trauma from that period of time, and
Yeah. So obviously, stop me if I ever overstep, but it does, you do not have to be neutral when you're telling a story about you being a minor, being abandoned by your parents, and being homeless. Like, I don't, for all my willingness to say no victim mentality and ignore the system and personal responsibility, I don't know that a child being homeless for even a day is something that, like, I get your willingness to audit and then edit yourself so that people don't think you're saying, woe is me. But woe is you at 15 being abandoned and homeless. Like, that's a traumatic thing.
yeah, yeah, it was hard on me for real. So yeah, so I came back, and um, I just I kind of like hated them. I kind of like hated them. I was more distant. towards them, even like my sisters. I just was different. I just was different after that. And at that point, there was no reason for me to feel like I had to respect or acknowledge them as parents because for what? Like what? Like, and this is the thing about, and it kind of carries over to getting locked up. And I feel like with people being institutionalized as well, we get into that later. But once you experience something and you make it through it, like I wasn't thriving. I was not thriving when I was homeless, but I made it though. And so now the question is, my head is like, like they try to tell me do something. I'm like, well, fuck you. Like, what you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do? Kick me out? Kick me out. What you gonna? Because that's the worst they could do to me. That's the worst they could do because now, like, you can't hit me no more though. Like, you can't just beat me no more. You can't talk to me crazy. I don't say nothing to you. The most you can tell me to do at this point is get out of your house, and I'm not scared though no more. I'm not worried about. I'll go back to the streets. I don't care. I'll go get me a pole, and then I'll do whatever I got to do. I'm
Yeah.
not like there's nothing you could threaten me with. So there was like this major detachment, and it soured our relationship. Very like it never was the same after that.
And your dad was there?
Yeah, my father, who is it's actually my stepdad, but he's the only father I've ever known. He raised me since I was 3, and yeah, he was there. But I mean, no buts. He was there, but my father, not really like my father's not like what my father's nothing how I want to be. The type of man I want to be, the type of father I want to be eventually is nothing like my father. My mother was actually head of the household. My mother was the overbearing presence in the household, and yeah, she controlled everything. So even if she was being very mean, which she could be, verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive, he's never been the type to like he'll get it too. You feel me? Like so there's nothing. He wasn't like a strong father figure there to like offer the type of guidance and shit that I was able to resonate with at that time, because most of this shit that my father was doing or tolerating from my mother translated to me at the time. It translated as weakness. So he was there, but it didn't do too much as far as like a role model for me.
So you are in the streets, your aunt picks you up, you are back with your family, you are not getting along with your mom, which is reasonable, I think. Like it makes sense. Um, and then I'm assuming at some point you left, or you were kicked out, or something happened at the home.
Yeah, I just at that point was, yeah, I was just kind of like addicted to the streets, and I didn't give a fuck about anything. I didn't care about nothing for real. And I'm not even trying to sound tough or I literally did not care about life. You know what I'm saying? And anybody who's been in the streets on a certain type of time, you just kind of get used to like the lingering possibility of death everywhere you go because of what you're doing and who you're around. And it just doesn't move you. You just don't care. And that's how I was. So I would just get my shit and I just leave. I'd leave for 2, 3 weeks at a time. Nobody would hear from me. When it call, when it text. Sometimes I pop up, but at this point, I'm not sleeping in the streets anymore because the first time I was homeless before I got locked up and brought back, um, I had met I had met the homie from the hood, and he took us in, him, his mom, and it was really his mom. She was like a hood mom, and she like took us in, me and my co-defendant, because of my other co-defendant who was 15 at the time. We were both homeless. So when we had met, it was just like, hey, what's up? What's up? And then we kind of like we was talking, and we figured out we were both homeless. And then like it was like, all right, well, shit, I got your back, you got my back. And so wherever I would go, he would go. Where he would go, I would go. And we was just raising hell, you know what I'm saying? But we had came across a homie from the hood, and he pretty much opened his doors to both of us, even though they had their doors open to the whole hood. So like when I would leave, if I was staying somewhere like long term, kind of, I would go over there with them, and yeah, I would do that and kind of bounce back and forth, run around the streets. Sometimes I would go home, and that's pretty much what I was doing before I had caught my case.
Got it. Um, so now you are caught up in a system where you are looking at 25 to life um,
Yeah.
after the felony murder charge. And you said it took years to actually, for you to actually be sentenced. So
Yeah.
what happened after you were released? Like, what did you think? What happened? Um, and how did you get back in connection with your mom?
So they took me and my other co-defendant, we were both minors, and they took us to the Juvenile Minor Detention Center, which is Durango. Um, and we were there, and then we were gonna go to court to be transferred to the adult system as a minor. And so when we were there, I remember I was locked down in my cell. And I look outside, it's like the next day, and I see my co-defendant out there watching TV with everybody. I'm like, how did he get out there? Because they wouldn't let me out, and they weren't supposed to let him out because of our charges, because we were being there held and then to be transferred as an adult, which is you're basically you're in a different system. Like if you go to prison as a juvenile, you go to this place called Adobe Mountain, which
Yes.
is juvenile prison. But if you go to prison as an adult, juvenile charged as an adult, you go to Arizona State Prison in a minors unit. So as we're waiting to get transferred, the detectives come, they take our DNA, and then they leave, and then they tell us we're being released. Me, and my other co-defendant, they tell us we're being released. The two adult co-defendants didn't get released, but they released us. And so when they released us, um, I went back home. I remember I went back home, and looking back at it, excuse me, looking back at it, I think that it was probably about this was in 2011. I didn't get locked up till 13, maybe like around a year and a half or whatever, a year and some change until I ended up getting locked back up. During this time frame is I have no other way to describe it except like a prolonged like mental breakdown. Like there's I just really don't know how to explain it because um something had happened. Okay, so two things had happened that really fucked me up. So when I went back home, I was obviously I was extremely paranoid from the police. Every time I seen the police, I would think they were gonna come get me. I was under immense amount of stress all the time. But it was also because I remember going home and looking in the mirror. And when I looked in the mirror at this time, I'm 16. I have no facial hair. I have a very like babyish face. And I just remember thinking to myself, if I seen me on the street, I would not think that I was capable of or involved with anything that I was doing at the time. And that thought it kind of just it just clicked something in my mind to where the whole world was extremely dangerous. It just made me feel like you can't trust anybody or anything. It doesn't matter what, because a lot of people might looked at me back then. I'm looked like a kid and they wouldn't see a threat, and it
Well,
just
I
made
mean,
me
you were a kid. You didn't look
right,
like
right.
you were a child.
Right. I would, and but they wouldn't think that I was involved with what I was involved with. And so it kind of made me think like you don't know what anybody's involved in. You don't know who would do what to you. And then I had went to the barber shop, which that messed with my mind. And then I had went to the barber shop, and as I'm getting my waiting in line to get my haircut, I'm sitting down. The people in the barber shop are talking about my case, but they don't know I was involved because it was on the news, but they couldn't put my face because I was a minor. So they're talking about my case and they're like, damn, did you hear about so and so? Did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And they're like, yeah, that's fucked up, this and that, this and that. And that fucked me because I'm like, they don't know that it was me there. And then now I'm thinking, you don't know who knows what. You don't know who you're standing next to. You don't. And so the whole world just became like, just, it just, everything just was times 10 for me. I was just on times 10 all the time. And that deeply impacted um, my mental health. It deeply impacted my mental health.
So there is a seemingly a transition emotionally because prior to your charges, you said you didn't care about anything, and then after your charges, you became hyper aware and started caring about everything and like hyper analyzing and everything. Did you Did you see that shift when it was happening, or retrospectively, have you looked back at those two very different mind state, or were they different to you?
I feel I experienced the shift real time. And the reason that it became so apparent to me while it was happening is because most of the time growing up we didn't have a car, so we'd have to usually walk to go get food and stuff like that. And so my father was always the one that would go walking for the food. And a lot of times he would need help carrying groceries back. And him and my brother didn't really get along just because of the dynamic of the household, dysfunctional family. It was very toxic. But I was kind of like my dad's like road dog when it came to like running errands. Like sometimes he wouldn't want to be by himself, and he'd be like, "You want to come with me?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I want to go with you." And so on these walks, my dad would like always like, we would just talk. He would tell me a lot of shit that you're not supposed to tell a kid, what I'm saying, put pressures on me you're not supposed to put on the kid. But this was like our thing. After I got out, I remember he asked me if I wanted to go to the store with him. And I told him no, I don't want to go to the store with you. And he was like, well, just come on, like I need help, what I'm saying? We'll do it. And they kind of like forced my hand to go to the store. I didn't explain to him why I didn't want to go to the store, but I didn't want to be seen with my father because I didn't want him to be in danger. Cause I didn't, mind you, my mind is spinning, and now I'm like hyper aware, and the main thing on my mind is my family. I wasn't really worried about like myself because I felt like whatever happens, I mean, I can whatever I'll protect. But it was always been my family. So I didn't like to go places with my dad. I didn't want to be seen with my sisters. Like nothing. I didn't want any connection between me and my family in case, cause I just didn't know like the type of time people would be on, or like, cause there was certain people that was mad over here about this, or certain people that was mad about this, and there was people like the homie was like, hey, these people that came through the hood, whatever, whatever, whatever. So, but I didn't care about anything but my family. So that's what made me aware of like this switch. Yeah, I just didn't my family.
Well, what were your? I know we cannot talk about the victims in any detail, right? And so obviously I will not push too many questions there, but I do see some comments, and I wanted to ask, what was your relationship like with the victims at this point, even mentally?
It was non-existent. It was there wasn't any relationship. There wasn't any um there wasn't yeah, there was nothing there. There was just nothing. No.
And mentally, was did you think about them? Did you think about, I'm saying them as in the people who suffered from the unaliving
Right.
of one person.
Right.
Um, what were your thoughts generally um about this? Or was it that you were, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, sorry.
No, you're fine. No, there was nothing. There was there was nothing. It was just um at this point, between my trauma and lack of maturity, um, my worldview was very warped, and I just had um, a lot of hate in my heart for the world in general. I felt like I wanted like the world to be in as much pain as I was, and I did not care about anything. When it comes to the victims, there wasn't any hate in my heart, but there was no room in my mind and my emotions that took them into consideration at this time because I was so detached from my own humanity. It just wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? And which sounds terrible, but I just had nothing. I had no compassion, I had nothing for nobody. I didn't have enough emotions. I didn't even have enough good emotions for myself. I hated myself. I was disgusted with myself, not for the streets or anything like that, just because I just felt myself like slipping, like I was just out of sorts. Like I just was depressed a lot. Like I broke down crying to my mom one time. I'm just like, Mom, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like I get up and I don't even fucking brush my hair. And I used to be like, always wanted, I didn't have a lot growing up, but I always wanted to look good. I always wanted to like, I always tried in my appearance. And then one day I woke up and I realized I didn't even give a fuck. Like I didn't care about anything. And that's just how I was for, that's how I was for a minute.
How do you reflect on the victims now?
Oh yeah, it's much different, you know. So, I mean, um, yeah, it's fucked up. So, actually, so while I was in prison, every so often, you know, I would think about the victims and like what I'd done. But obviously, the main victim is the one who lost their life. They're the main victim. You know what I'm saying? But um, and we're gonna get into this later if we get to that point in the conversation. But my when I had got sentenced, the victim's mother was there, right? And I got 12 years in prison. I didn't understand this at the time, but I did very well for what I had done. I did very well for my charges. There was people I ran into consistently who had the same charges or charges like that and were never getting out of prison. I didn't understand this at the time, but I was just like happy for 12 years. The victim's mother, she told the court, she told the lawyer, she told the prosecutor before I even met her or anything like that, she said that she wanted me and my other co-defendant who are minors. She said she wanted us to get out early enough to where we had a second chance at life. When I went to court, I apologized to her and I looked at her and she gave me a smile and a nod that looked genuine. You know what I mean? And so that fucks me up. Yeah, that fucks me up. The fact that we took her son, and like the older I get, the more I understand the type of person she had to be to forgive me for it. I'm like, damn, she's a really good person, and it's fucked up. You know what I mean? It's fucked up. So when I was in court, I mean, when I was in prison, I remember asking my CO3. I'm like, hey, is it possible if you could help me? Because I cannot reach out to them. You know what I'm saying? So, I do hope that one day they see my videos or something, and they see that, you know, she sees specifically that her mercy wasn't wasted. Um, yeah, so but my CO3 was like, legally you can't do it. You can't reach out and apologize. You can't reach out because over the years, when I was 15, I thought I was grown. My vic one of the I was 15, I thought I was grown, but the victim died very young. He was 19 years old. But when I got to 19, I realized that I was still a kid. And I got to 25 and I was like, damn, I'm growner, but there's still so much to life I have. And then I got to 28 years old and now I'm seeing an 18-year-olds come into prison. And I'm like, damn, this nigga, he looked like a baby. And now, you know, so the more I experience, the more I understand that he didn't have a chance. So and that fucked me. Yeah.
Sorry. Without sort of putting blame on, like, without worrying about blame on your parents, do you think that how do you think things could have been different for you?
Um, I think that I think that I think my life could have been um I didn't want like the shit that I got per se. I wanted to be like a football player. I wanted to be a running back. So that was like my dream. But I had made the freshman team in high school. I'm like, cool. Like I want money. I want to help my family, whatever. My parents couldn't buy me cleats. So I quit the team because it was embarrassing. I didn't do any like never did drugs or stuff like that. But the first time I smoked weed was my mom. She was like, "Here, hit this." I was like, "I don't want to hit it." You know what I mean? I want to be an athlete. She's like, just hit it, it'd be fun." I was like, I don't want to smoke it." She's like, "Just smoke it." So I hit the weed. My mom was a gang member herself, so and my mom wasn't a monster. I understand like what I'm explaining, but my mom was human and complex like everybody else. So my mom was a monster, but you know, she instilled stuff in us that was damaging to me. Had I been raised by, you know, some of the other people in my family, I believe that I would have made the football team. I would have played football. I do believe that I could have got a scholarship or something. Um, and you know, I think that my life could have been different in a lot of ways. Yeah, I feel like my life would have been different because I wasn't dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like I make honor roll and shit like that. But um, the pressures that I was experiencing since about like 13, um, even before that, like I grew up, I knew we didn't have money. I knew we didn't have money. But when I got to like around 13, 14, that's when I decided like I'm tired of not having money. And then I also decided like, all right, well, I have two little sisters. I'm like, well, I have these little sisters, and like they're not my kids, but you know, like they're my responsibility, like my little sisters. So I seen myself as taken from their resources because I knew resources were limited. So I'm like, well, I just need to go get my own shit so they can have as much as they can have. And like that played a role in like me getting in the streets, selling drugs. So if these factors weren't at play, I do feel like my life would be it would have been extremely different. Yeah.
Um, when you were going through this, how close were you to your sisters?
Um I was super close with my sisters. I was really close with my baby sister. She was like she's like my twin. She like just like me. So it like with all the good parts of me, but that was like, you know, my little baby. I'm 10 years older than her, so I was able to. I'm so much older than her that I would teach her to. I taught her to walk. Like, you know, I would like change her diaper, feed her. You know, I played with both my sisters. I was a good brother to both my sisters for most of the time I was out, and yeah, I was real close. And I love my sisters. I love my sisters more than I probably communicated to them. But yeah,
Got it. Um, I know this is a hard transition, but I know we don't have all the time in the world, so I have to go back to the story. So now you found out that you were being charged,
yeah.
and you are going through a lot of mental processing, um, and it's a year now, and then over a year. At some point, did you start? Did you think, okay, I'm good?
No, I knew I wasn't good. I knew it was. I knew it was. Yeah, I knew it was over with. I knew it because I during that year, um, contrary to what most people might think, which is, oh, you got out, you should lay low. I did the exact opposite. I think at one point I had got arrested, and the prosecutor was telling the judge to keep me locked up because I had been police within. I had contact with police and or arrested 9 times since being released for my case, and I just no. And like sometimes I would get arrested. One time I got pulled over walking down the street with some of my homies, and the police was like, "Hey, you're he ran our names and he seen that I was a suspect in that case, and he started talking shit to me. More police pulled up. They would like whisper and point at me. They're like, "How'd you get out?" You know, this and that. So I knew it was still there. And then one time I had got arrested again, and I was like looking on the computer, the police computer, and I seen my name and I seen it said primary suspect and whoopty whoop. So and one time I had got arrested, and my lawyer was like, my juvenile lawyer was like, "Hey, like, you know, you got some hot shit on here, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I know about it." I'm like, "They bringing it up?" He's like, "Nah, they're not bringing it up right now, but you got some hot shit on here." I'm like, "You think they're gonna charge me?" He's like, "I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he just wasn't trying to scare me." But I knew it was coming, and like because I knew it was coming, I would act like I kind of like would try to prepare myself, like I would get in the shit and make a note not to, like, whatever happens, just stay here and deal with it, because you're going to prison and you're going to be locked in a cage and there ain't no escape. So I just started trying to like mentally prep myself anyway, but I knew it was coming.
All right. So you are getting charged, but you are out and you are continuing to engage in certain kinds of behaviors that are not great. Um, were you afraid? How afraid were you of? Because I know you said you weren't afraid for yourself, but you were afraid for your family. How afraid were you of being locked up after, like, your conception of prison and the idea that you would be there? Like, how do you prepare for that one? And were you afraid in any way?
Well, I first got locked up and then they took me to minors, and I wasn't afraid at all. You know, you got to fight to stay there, or not to stay there, but you have to fight to be part of the community. It's racially segregated, so because I'm black, if I wanted to be with the black people, I had to fight somebody that's not black. If you don't, then you'll be like extorted, jumped. You won't have any allies unless you gangbang and stuff like that. I did feel a little nervous or apprehensive about going to adults, just because I was picturing it like it was in my mind. I'm like, damn, like, like I'm going to adults, like, you have like horror stories in minors, like, yeah, we heard so and so got transferred to adults and he got stabbed, and so there was like that in my mind, but it didn't take long for me to decide, which is similar to what happened in the streets, that if the way I seen the world at the time, if there's gonna be victims, it's not gonna be me. It's not gonna be me. So whatever, what I'm saying. I wasn't. And that kind of apprehension or fear did happen, like going to adults, and then like when I got sentenced, I was like, okay, now I'm going to prison, and that felt like the final boss. But once you get there and just kind of just like, okay, I'm here now, and then you know, it's
All right, so
that's
when you say it's not going to be me, you were saying that you're willing to defend yourself.
yeah. I'm saying I'm willing to defend myself, and also saying that I'm willing to, like, because if I'm being completely honest, when you go to prison, it's not always about defending yourself. Sometimes it's about initiating some bullshit. When you're locked up, sometimes you initiate shit because, long story short, the way I spent the first half of my time allowed me the freedom to really change out in the open and not have to worry about anything. Because I was a problem, because I was running around politicking, because people knew that I would go there. People knew that not only like am I the person that would defend himself, I will bring it to you. Like, I will initiate it. When I decided to change, it wasn't a problem. Like, when I'm walking around with books and I'm trying to encourage people to go to school, I'm trying to encourage people to educate themselves, I'm trying to encourage people to stay drug free. Instead of it looking like some cornball who would not get any type of respect, it was like they respected the transition, because it's like, damn, I remember how you used to be, and now this is you now. So now, instead of me trying to convince people to do negative things, I'm trying to encourage them to go to college. It wasn't a problem, and I feel like my path wouldn't have been as smooth had I not been on some bullshit early on. Because if you get into bullshit in prison, it can protect you from more problems long term, because then people know that you're solid and they just leave you alone. But if you try to avoid problems over and over and over, people will see you as weak and they prey on you. And now you have more problems. And I kind of seen that. And so I just took initiative, so to speak.
Yeah, another observation. It seems from my perspective that you throw yourself under the bus before anyone else have an opportunity to, because even it might be bad still, and it is still not a good thing, but preemptive self-defense is still self-defense, right? Even if we don't conceptualize it like that. So if you're in an environment where you have to perform toughness so that people don't bother you, that is a way to defend yourself. I'm not telling you how to frame your story, but it does feel sometimes like you are saying, no, 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 I'm not that good. But you don't have to be good. You just have to be human. And this is
Mhm.
not a pass for anything that you've done, honestly. It's just there is a fear that in the attempt to give retribution, you don't acknowledge the child that existed at some point that had to survive. And again, that survival of the child does not excuse the behavior of the adult or the child, but there was still a child there that was abandoned and was in the streets and was facing prison time and trying to learn a prison system to survive in a prison system. So I just wanted to note that you told a story about finding out that your co-defendant um, was taken by the police,
Yeah.
and then that prompted you to go on a run. Um, and then there was a last conversation with your mom somewhere here. Can you take us through that story?
Yeah, so I have been getting, I kept getting in trouble, and I ended up getting put on juvenile intense probation. In juvenile intense probation, they have adult intense probation, which in prison we call it intense probation. It's IPS. We call it in prison soon, because it's very very intense. So I was on juvenile intense probation, and on house arrest, and I remember I had went to work with my dad. Like sometimes his boss would let me go to work with him, like if they were short, because he worked in a warehouse, and he would pay me for the day. So I remember when I was in there, I was on like a break or something, and I went on Facebook and I seen my co-defendant's brother. He said free so and so, which was my co-defendant. I'm like free so and so. I'm like, I call him. I'm like, hey, what's good? Like he's like, what's good? I'm like, bro, where your brother at? He's like, shit, he got locked up. They picked him up. I'm like, picked him up for what? He's like, that shit. I'm like, I'm like that shit. He's like, yeah, they picked him up for that shit. I'm like, all right, bro, good looking. I hang up the phone. So now I'm like, okay, now I know for sure they're coming. And now looking back, I think they just waited till I got closer to 18 to prosecute me. But I'm like, I know for sure they're coming. You know what I'm saying? And I should have. There's so much like I should have known because like the woman I told you that was involved with us. I remember I was walking down the street and I can kind of see somebody looking at me from the corner of their eye in their car, but I don't have my pole on me at this time, which was kind of rare. So I was just like hella like damn, like maybe they just caught me slipping. And the car starts to drive, and I can see somebody like watching me. And as the car goes out, it makes the turn. I didn't know it was her. She comes out the window. Then I see her, and she's like, "Ain't you supposed to be in jail, little boy?" I should have known the whole time. Like I just wasn't able to put two and two together. So but they were just she was cooperating with the police. One of my co-defendants had told on me, told on all of us, and I think they let us out to like get me closer to 18. And like looking back, I should have realized all these things, but I didn't. So when it hit me at this moment, I was like, I gotta go. So I remember I went home. I think I kind of like was thinking about what I'm gonna do like for a day or two, hella paranoid, and then I just made a decision like, bro, I'm just gonna leave. And so I remember packing up my stuff, I put it in a duffel bag, and my mom, who knew I was gonna leave, I told her I was gonna leave. She was on the couch, she was just crying, so she was smoking, and she was just sitting there crying, like a silent cry, like like a helpless type of cry. Like she wasn't hysterical, she wasn't yelling, she was just pretty much defeated, like she was just like sitting there crying. You know what I'm saying? And I just looked at her. I remember I went to the door, had my duffel bag. I unlocked the door. I remember I looked back at my mama, and she wasn't looking at me. And then I think I forget what I said to her. Then she kind of looked at me, and I was like, I love you, mom. Like it's gonna be okay. I love you." And she was like, "I love you too." And I remember feeling like I just remember feeling like, damn. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even think I hugged her or nothing, bro. I left. And that's the last time I see my mom, like when we're both free. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of do think like, damn, I should have, you know, there's like a terrible pattern that I do that. Like last time I see my brother he was on the run. He had got into a fight with a homie from my hood. So him and my mom had jumped my homeboy. The
Wait,
police was
your
coming,
mom jumped your mom and your brother fought a man.
jumped him. Yeah, they jumped him in the front yard. They beat the brakes off the homie. So not the brakes, but they put it on him though. So they jumped him. And so the police are coming. My brother's on the run. I'm on probation. I can't run because I'm on house arrest. I tell my brother, I'm like, hey, um, come with me. We gotta leave. We gotta leave. And he just looked at me and he was just like, I hate you. You're not my brother. Don't ever call yourself my brother again. And I left because the police were coming. He just sat there and the police came and got him. That's the last time I see my brother. So, and there was another time with somebody in my family, my grandma who had passed away. I have this bad pattern in my life to where I just don't, I just don't, I don't know. I just fuck up a lot when it comes to that. But that's the last time I see my mom. Yeah, like outside of prison.
So your biological father, you've never met.
I met him one time when I was 10 years old. He came to my 10th birthday party and was like, "What's up?" I was like, "What's up?" And then he left. And then the next day, my mom was like, "That's your dad." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Um, have you ever this seems odd now to ask because I feel like the answer is no, but I'm going to ask, have you ever spoken to your mom about him?
No,
Got it.
no. Yeah.
And so your father, the person you call dad now, your real father, because he's the one who was there, um, what was he like?
He was like, he's, he's a good dude. Um, he was kind of like the polar opposite of my mom. Like, if you're gonna get in trouble, you rather dad know about it than mom know about it. Um, like he'll spank us and stuff or sometime, but like he wasn't like hitting us and stuff like my mom would do. He wouldn't like, tear us down with words and stuff like my mom would do. Um, he wasn't like that, but he just came across my father just came across weak to me and
Weak?
weak.
Why?
I just feel like there was some stuff that um like there was like infidelity in their relationship and stuff like that. And I just remember one time there was this one situation to where she didn't do anything like cheat or nothing in this particular situation, but I felt like this situation was just the epitome of a lack of respect for you, like as a man. And I just didn't like the way he went about it. I just didn't like, no, I just didn't.
Oh, whoa, so your mom cheated, quotation, and he didn't do anything.
Um, I mean, he ended up cheating on her later, like cheated back, but like I just felt like a lot of times like he just got ran over. I just feel like he just let my mom run over him, and I just like the relationship was very toxic, and it just was like he was a very hard worker. He was a very hard worker. Did his best to provide for us. He's the only one that worked in the household. Like my mom never really had a job, so he was providing for all of us. Very selfless. Would put of course always put the family ahead of himself. But yeah, just like I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't want to be anything like my dad, and I don't want to be anything like my mom.
Did it feel like he was trying to save you or change the trajectory of your life?
Hell nah. It felt like he was just trying to survive like everybody else. Felt like he was just trying to stay out the way like everybody else. Cause like I said before, he'll get it too. Like she'll hit him and degrade him too. You know what I'm saying? So like, nah, he wasn't trying to. I mean, he just wasn't. My father was a hard worker, but he never felt like a leader. He
Hmm.
never felt like a leader. So, um, yeah.
There is this moment where you're about to leave, and this is the last time you're seeing your mom. You just explained that you didn't get to hug her. Um, and you kind of went on a run, and we'll get back to that and what happened and how you ended up back caught and in prison. But how do you now get to a place where you've forgiven? It seems like, or let me not put words in your mouth. How are you now able to talk about your mother with such kindness and seemingly fondness, where it seems like she was the architect for a really bad life.
Um, I just, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be, it's my mom, so I'm gonna just have a soft spot for her. But there was, I mean, I really can't like. There's no other way for me to really. That's just what it was. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what it was. Like she um and mind you, I do feel like my mother battled with mental illness. This is my personal opinion and the personal opinion of other people in my family. But my mother was very, very artistic. She was very smart. She was like a social butterfly. She could adapt to anything. She had many talents and skills. Um, I think just decision making and stuff like that just kind of like derailed um who she knows and other people know she could have been and what she could have done. And this is why I'm a very like very passionate about telling people to, try to live your best life and try to like be the best person you could be in terms of like what you want out of life, because who you are as an individual will bleed into every role you have into your life. Like who you are as a man or a woman is going to affect who you are as a brother, a sister, a father. You know what I'm saying? All these things are circled around who you are. And so because my mom, I'm not assuming that a lot of this stuff, like she's told us like, she told us like, you guys ruined my life. I could have been this, I could have been this. No, I hate you. If it wasn't for you, I could be doing this. So, and to be honest with you, I do feel like a lot of like what you caught me doing it a few times when I'm like trying to like excuse myself for like, oh well, I'm not perfect. Like, it's like I'm trying to like justify like the space I'm given. It kind of stems from that because just like we were just led to believe that we were just burdens that came about and just fucking ruined everything and just sucked up resources and didn't contribute. You know what I'm saying? Just felt useless. So a lot of my shit it goes back to my mom, but I still talk about her. I still love her, and I try to find understanding, even though the older I get, the less I understand of why she did what she did. But
And
with
if I'm assuming you didn't get her story.
like I do know a good amount about my mom's story. I do know that she was also in the streets. I do know that she was gang banging too. I do know that, she experienced abuse in romantic relationships and stuff like that. My whole life, my mother self-medicated. She ended up towards the end of her life, using harder and harder substances. And I know my mom was full of like a lot of regret. And I know my mom always wanted more than what she had, but never did anything to get it. So she was always torturing herself because she wanted more, but she never wanted to go get it. And she just took it out on people around her.
Or maybe she didn't know how to. But yeah, I take your point. Um, Sorry, I should not have corrected that.
No, that's fine. This is open conversation.
So now you are out on the run. What was that like and what happened?
When I was on the run, it was just madness again. Once again, I had this bad habit because I had been out. I had no. Oh yeah, no. I think I had been on the run about something before. I can't remember, but I was just on the type of time like I don't care. Run it concurrent. Like that's like it came like a running joke. That's just what I would say to people. Like I'm like, man, I don't give a fuck, man. Run it concurrent. Like so, I was just wilding, just the same, not really caring, and yeah, just doing whatever, and yeah, just back to that type of time where nothing really mattered.
Got it. And then what happened? When were you caught? How did that happen? What was the process like? Um, and the agreement, plea agreement, how does that come about?
So, um, the marshals, ATF, and the local police department were like looking for me. I knew they were looking for me, so I was just cat and mouse game. One day, um, my homie had called me, my bro, and he was like, "Hey, I had a kickback over here last night. I had got into it with somebody. We had like a little scuffle, whatever, whatever." And he was like, "There's a gold chain somewhere in my backyard." So I was like, "Shit, I'm finna go get this gold chain. You know what I'm saying? We could cash it out, have some little spending money, whatever, whatever. We'd be smooth." So the night before, I remember the night before. Words are mighty powerful. Words are mighty powerful. The night before, we was chilling. We was sipping some powder. And I remember telling my bros, I'm just like, bro, they're gonna get me soon. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, I can just feel it in my bones, bro. I'm about to get caught. Like, they're gonna get me. Like, nah, don't say that, don't say that. I'm like, bro, it's over with. And true to my word, not probably not even 12 hours later, I'm in the backyard. Now, mind you, I'm not supposed to be over here because my bro lives literally across the street from my mom. Like, it's like the main street. This is like where we live, and then you cross the main street, and on the other side of the main street is where he lives. So this area is already like they know this. I'm gonna be around this area. They know that me and him associate with each other. Like, there've been other times where stuff has happened. They're looking for me in this area because they know that this is like my dude. So I know I'm not supposed to be over here, but I'm like, I want this chain. I want some money. I don't feel like going buku stupid buku Banham today. Let's just get this little easy layup. And so I'm in the backyard looking for the chain, looking for the chain. He ends up pulling up. So my bro pulls up with a couple of the other homies, and then they're like, "What's up? What's up?" We chilling, whatever, whatever. Like, "Hey, what's good? What's good?" And then I remember my bro's backyard. He has like a low gate and like bushes on both sides, and it's in the alleyway because he lives in a house. And I remember a minivan drove through the alleyway. And I remember looking at my brother, and I'm like, as soon as I seen the minivan drive through the alleyway, I looked at because we had got pretty good at like spotting like undercovers and shit like that. So like when I seen the minivan, I'm like I'm like, bro, that's the police. He's like, you tripping, bro? That's not the police. I'm like, bro, that's the police, bro. And so he's like, bro, you tripping? So I remember he had like a blanket on because it's kind of cold outside, and like he walked over and he walks over, then he goes to run. And then when I see him go to run, I hear get on the ground, get on the ground. And then I barely seen like a woman cop, she popped out, she had drew down on him. I'm gone. So I run into the front. And mind you, before this, I don't remember this. But my homies were telling me, like, you don't remember it? Somebody had came through the neighborhood saying they lost their daughter. They were looking for their missing daughter and was showing flyers. We all went to the door to look, and it was actually the police. Like, it was the police that were like confirming that I was there. And so I go to run through the front, not knowing they already got the drop, like they're already surrounding me. And this is ATF officer that had arrested me before was no, it was a different officer in the front. And then I had ran to my homie's mom's room. So I ran to my homie's mom's room. I got in the closet. I'm like, God damn, like they got me. You feel me? They got me. And I remember I can hear them yelling at my homie and his grandma and his sister. And I remember just hearing my bro, and he was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. And for and when I heard him saying, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't know what you're talking about, I was just like, he got my back. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has my best interest at heart. Obviously, they know I'm here. Obviously,
Wait, wait. Sorry, I do have to come in. At this point, you don't think he set you up?
nah, I don't think my bro set me up.
Oh, all right, my bad.
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
you good, you good, you good. I don't think he set me up because he had nothing to do with the case or like, I don't, they didn't have like any money on me or nothing. Like, I wasn't like, you know, but I remember thinking like, hearing him defend me, knowing that I'm obviously in here, and I knew his grandma was out there, so I was just like, I just need to just come out and give up. So I just came out, and then there was this officer, ATF dude that had arrested me before, talking shit, threatening to blow my head off, all that gangster shit that they be talking, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, bro, just come on, bro, just cuff me up, and then cuff me up, took me back to the same precinct, talked to the same
Wait,
detective, yeah.
so at the house, did your homie know that you could hear him?
Um, I don't know because I don't know if he knows where I was at. Because he got drew down on in the backyard and I left.
Do,
Cause I'm like, they're not
do
here
you
for
know?
me.
Do you know if he was arrested?
No, he didn't get arrested.
Do you know if he was charged with anything?
Nah, he wasn't charged with anything.
But he was also well. You can. I won't ask you that publicly. Okay. So, but you don't think he set you up? You don't think there's anything there?
No, I don't think there's just no nothing.
How did you think the police found you?
I
Just
think
out
that
of curiosity.
I just think they're already watching that area because I was. It's literally a 5 minute walk from my mom's house, and there had been an investigation going on in that area prior because of allegations of somebody that matched my description. So, like, I was somebody that looked like me in that area was already there was already investigations going around that area, and it kind of tied in everything. Like everything was all intermingled already, and I just think that the police were just watching that area. They told my brother before, like they told my brother they were coming to get me. Cause my brother got arrested. He ended up going to prison. So I just think they knew that I'd be over there.
And did you see the chain that you were gonna sell?
Never found the chain. Never found his chain.
Sorry. So your friend calls you over because they have a chain.
Yeah, he called me over because he said he got into it with somebody last night and broke their chain and but he dropped it in the backyard during the
And so
kickback
he
there.
called you over because after the kickback, they have a chain in the backyard. And he called you for you all to go get the chain in the backyard. So he didn't go check for the chain in the backyard. Actually, stop. You were probably still in community with this
Nah,
person.
nah, it's not a problem to talk about. It's not a problem to talk about.
I think it's a problem. Where I'm going, it might be a problem. So let's end that part of the conversation. All right. So you are now getting carried away to go to prison.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Um, they took me to they took me to jail, the precinct. Then they drove me to the adult jail. Booked me in as a minor. And I remember I had to go through like this thing they call like the Matrix. I had to go through this thing called the Matrix, and it's basically where you get processed and stuff like that. Because I'm a minor, I wasn't allowed to be around all the other adults and shit like that. And I remember being in a room, and somebody to the right in the cell next to me was like, "Hey neighbor, hey neighbor, hey neighbor." At first, I didn't think he was talking to me, but then I kind of like, I'm like, he must be talking to me. I'm like, "Hey, what's good?" And so I started talking to him. He asked me to call some of his peoples or whatever. And I remember him telling me pretty much for like he was pretty much telling me you need to snitch. Like that's pretty much what he was telling me. He was like, "So how old are you?" I'm like, "I'm 17." He's like, "What they get you for?" And I told him what they got me for. He's like, "Damn." He's like, "Yeah, bro. Um, at the end of the day, you gotta do what you gotta do for you. You feel what I'm saying?" And I'm like, huh? He's like, "You gotta do what you gotta do for you. Do you feel what I'm saying?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't feel what you saying. I don't feel what you're saying." And he's like, "Pretty much, you gonna fuck around and find out." And I was there for a few hours. Then they ended up taking me up to my cell block, which was a bunch of other minors that were in max custody. And it was there where my other co-defendant was at. The other one that was a minor too. He was in the same pot as me.
And did you guys get around the same time? What were you told insofar as to make a deal versus go to trial? How did you process all of that?
Um, I remember he had been to court because he had been in there since September. I had been in there since I just got there in February. He was saying that they were talking about 20 years. I remember he was like, I think they're talking about giving us 20 years, whatever, whatever. Um, uh,
Wait, how many of you were there? There was you, the co-defendant. You said there was a woman.
yeah. So she signed a testimonial plea, so she pretty much got immunity. I think she got like probation. She never even really spent any time in jail. And
When
then there
she
was
got
four of her.
immunity, she flipped on y'all.
Yeah, she flipped on us. Yeah, she flipped on us, and she's the one whose rent needed to be paid. Yeah,
Wait, wait,
Yeah.
wait, wait. So
Yeah.
y'all went to rob someone to pay her bills, and then she flipped on y'all.
Yeah, because that was my co-defendant's baby mama who he lived with. So he was like, I need help paying my rent. But it's really her rent. But I mean, they're together. But yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then, wait, this is not funny at all. I'm sorry, my
yeah.
voice sounds terrible. But I cannot even conceive of that reality.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she flipped. And, it took her like a couple hours to snitch. The co-defendant from the hood, he snitched immediately. They sat him down. They said, you know why you're here? He said, yeah, to tell you what happened last night. He immediately told, like,
Oh, wait, so everyone was just ratting everyone out, except I'm assuming you.
no, well, not just me. It was the one who got the most amount of time who they identified as the shooter. And the two minors were the only ones that didn't tell. The other two told.
Wait, so there are five of you?
Yeah, five including the woman. Five including the woman.
All right, can you run through them without their names? Like, who did what?
What do you mean? Like who told or like what do you mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so the woman, she signed a state testimonial plea, which is basically that plea, if anybody doesn't know, that means that she is willing to take the stand should we ever go to trial and tell them what happened and point us out. And obviously, if you don't know, that's just like the worst that could happen to you if you're trying to fight a case and maybe potentially go to try to beat the case. If you have somebody who was there and they're gonna tell on you, you're pretty much done because
yeah,
they're gonna point you out in court.
yeah.
And my other co-defendant, the dude, the one that the homie from the hood, who was the homie, he told because turns out he had been, and this all plays a part in like my transition and changing my life. He had been a snitch. He had snitched before, and it was in my paperwork because he was on probation, and the reason why he was on probation was contained in my police report. So he was already snitching before he snitched on this, and so yeah, I was just seeing that as many people already know, like the brotherhood. A lot of times, the brotherhoods and the bonds you think you build in the streets is it's false. It's just lies for real.
Was the woman with you all when you all went?
Yeah, she was the mastermind. Yep, yep.
This is not funny. This is not funny, but this is actually. So the lady, your homeboy, is living with a woman in her home, right?
Yeah, yeah. They live together. Yeah.
Wait, them living together and living in her home are very different things. So if they
Well, yeah,
were
yeah.
living,
Yeah, they were together. They were a couple.
but were both of them on the lease?
Nah, but like you no. Most of the time, you in the hood, like the dudes don't be. They just be their girls on the leash, and dude's credit is fucked up. He got felonies and all types of shit, so they don't put two on the leash.
Got it. All right, so they were trying to pay her their both their bills.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Anyway, it's fine. And she's like, "Oh, we should go rob someone."
I don't know exactly who hatched the scheme, but
I mean, you just said she was the
she
mastermind.
was
So,
because she was the bridge between the victims and everybody else.
oh, she knew the victims.
Yes, yes, she was the mastermind of all that, and she didn't get any time in prison.
Gotcha. Oh, that's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, yeah, she
So,
was. She was she's the person that connected everybody. She's the person who set the victims up. It was her.
oh, how did you tell this part of the story at all on your TikTok?
Nope.
Okay, wait. Yeah, no, can you? I don't know how much you can tell, but that's insane to me now. Can you explain this? What happened without including the part where the victims were involved and ultimately passed?
Without like giving details, what I'll say is she preyed on the trust of someone, like they believed her to be a friend or maybe even romantic interest. She preyed on that and put them in a position to where they were vulnerable to us doing a home invasion and him ultimately losing his life. And she knew him. Like I'm not excusing like, oh, well, we're not as bad, whatever. I did a horrible thing, we all did. But she knew him on a personal level. She knew him. We didn't know him. She knew him. That was her friend slash romantic interest. So like when I look at it, I feel like she's the worst one out of all of us. She's the Judas out of everybody because you're the person that put him in a position to lose his life when he trusted you, and she didn't even go to prison.
And her boyfriend was okay with the kind of using of sexual enticement to be able to rob this other person.
Yeah, like they didn't do anything
Yeah,
during that instant, but like that's a common thing. It's a common thing in the hood. The dudes would do like the muscle work, and women consistently set people up in the hood. Like this is not even nothing new. Like women set people up all the time. Um, some women go farther than the others in convincing that they really like somebody, and they just get caught slipping.
got it. All right. And so the times she gets probation, you get 12 years. Your co-defendant, the one that you found out on Facebook getting arrested, got 12 years also.
He got 20 years.
Wait, why was there a discrepancy that way?
So one of my co-defendants got 43 years. One of my co-defendants got 32 years. One of my co-defendants got 20 years. And the reason that there is a massive discrepancy between me and the other minor is because my three co-defendants, they all had another robbery case. And so my co-defendant that's my age, they gave him time for the robbery and the case that he's on with me. And then the older co-defendants, they did the same thing, but they gave my co-defendant got 33 years. They gave him 33 years for the case he's on with me, and then they stacked 10 and a half years for the other robbery case. The co-defendant that got 32 got 22 years for the case he's on with me, and then they stacked 10 and a half years because of the robbery case. And so they stacked my other co-defendant, the one that's my age, they stacked his time too, which is why they all ended up with more time than me.
Random question, and then we'll get back to this. Do you keep in contact with any of them?
Um, I talked to the one that got 43 years. I still talk to him.
Got it. Um, so these years are being divvied out. You, I'm assuming your defense attorney comes to you and say, "This is the deal on the table, or we can go to trial, and you could be in here 25 to life." What was that conversation like to the extent you feel comfortable, and what was going through your head, and why did you ultimately take 12 years?
So my lawyer was, I mean, I think he's a piece of shit. You feel what I'm saying? He never literally like some shit you see in a movie. He could never even pronounce my name right. He never learned how to properly say my name. He never came to see me. He never asked me my side of the story. He never tried to ask me how to put together any type of defense. It took me over a year to get like my police report, which is this is terrible. You know what I'm saying? Like if people don't understand. And one day I just put in a motion to fire his ass because I knew he was playing with my life. So I put in a motion to fire him, end up not firing him because the judge is like, well, if you fire him, you might not get another lawyer that's as good, and I'm not gonna let you keep firing lawyers. Which now that I know a little bit more, I don't think he can stop me from firing like incompetent counsel. But at the time, I was like, okay, and I'll never forget when I went into court and presented my motion to dismiss my counsel because like incompetency. Like I'm like he don't even know how to say my name. I just laid it all out. The clerk of the court was a woman, and during the conversation, she like looked at me and like gave me like the slightest nod, and then she was kind of pretty much like don't let them play you, like they don't care. Like the way it translated to me was like she was letting me know like you better fight for yourself because they're not gonna fight for you. And so I put in for this motion, got my police report, ended up not firing him, and then he probably came to see me three times total. I did a year and a half in county, and two times he came to see me was to get me to sign a plea. And all he told me was that I'm pretty sure I can get you 12 years. I signed an open plea from 10 to 16 years. So they could have gave me anywhere from 10 to 16. And he's like, I'm pretty sure I can get you 12 years. And I'm like, well, why are you pretty sure? Like, you haven't done anything. You don't know anything. He's just like, I'm pretty sure. Like, he just kept saying
Did
he's
you
pretty sure.
explain why? Did he explain how?
No. And that's why, I mean, a lot of people will say, like, I don't have any concrete proof, but I truly believe they being there trading people off. I truly believe that, man. Like they're like, but aside from the mother wanting me to have mercy, I don't know why he was so sure he'd give me 12 years.
He probably, well, let me not say that.
I think
But
that he made it do it. Like, let me get this dude a good amount of time. It looks good on me, and the next time I have a defendant, I'll let you bam him. I really think they do shit like that.
so there is an issue in the criminal justice system around sort of overload and the inability to like have people get due process, and whether or not you get process that is due when you sign plea deal is like a general question that I think we should be thinking about. But I think as a general matter, yeah, the prosecutor and the defense attorney are trying to get work off their table, and I'm not sure in the process of getting work off their table if justice is being served. However, in this case, there were obvious like
Right,
issues, and the victim and the lady who was willing to testify, um, it, whether or not I believe you could have gotten less is an opinion that I will not share. But go ahead.
right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and so I ended up signing the plea for an open plea for 10 to 16 years, and I got 12 years, which is what he pretty much told me. Like he can't legally tell me you're gonna get 12 years, but he was just like, I'm pretty sure I can get you 12 years. I'm like, yeah, but this, and this. He's like, I'm pretty sure. Like the way he said it was just like, I can't tell you, but I know you're getting 12 years. And then the reason why I'm like saying he's a piece of shit, and I know he was like always trying to play me, is because I was supposed to get sentenced on my 19th birthday. Before I get sentenced, they do this thing called a mitigation specialist. And basically, a mitigation specialist is somebody that comes in and interviews you, and they ask you about your background, and they try to find mitigating factors for the judge to take into consideration when you're being sentenced. Because if you have mitigating factors, you can get less time than the presumptive, which is like where they start, which is 16. Because I pled down to second degree murder and armed robbery. So the presumptive is 16. The minimum is 10. If I get mitigating factors, I can get less than 16. If you have aggravating factors, they try to give you more than the presumptive. So I asked him, like, hey, can I get a mitigation specialist? You know what, bro? He sat there and lied to my face and said there's no mitigation specialist for second degree murder, which is a bold faced lie. Everybody, every case, you always get a mitigation specialist. So he told me there wasn't one. I'm like, oh, okay. I go to get sentenced, and now at this point, I'm ready to go. Like, I don't care. I'm like, I'm just ready to go to prison. You know what I'm saying? And I go to get sentenced, and he pushes a button so like the courts can't hear us talk because there's like a microphone. He's like, hey, we're gonna postpone this, and we're gonna get you a mitigation specialist and sentence you next month. I'm like, what? He's like, we're gonna. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, nah, we ain't postponing shit. That run it right now. Cause I was just ready. I was like, man, run it right now. I don't care. He's like, listen, we need to get you a mitigation. And I told him, I said, man, you just told me one no mitigation specialist for my case though. Like, what changed? He's like, look, we're just gonna. And that like, there were just instances like this where it was exposed how much he did not give a fuck and how much
But
he was not trying.
But in the time, let's call it incompetence, even if I don't have his side of the story, so I don't know what's happening, right? But let's say he is incompetent. A mitigation specialist would be useful to you, and you were frustrated, and I don't blame you. Nothing I'm saying right now is to say at such a young age you should have known better. Please don't take any of my words to mean that. But what happened, and are you still good with the choice you made to say no, we don't need a mitigation specialist, run it now?
Oh well, he didn't listen to me.
Oh,
And they
oh,
postponed, yeah, they postponed my sentencing, and I got a mitigation specialist.
good. Sorry, good.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's insane.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
insane. Okay, good. Not good that he didn't listen to you, but good that.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do you think was the result of that?
Of the mitigation specialist?
Hmm.
Um, if I'm being honest with you, this is just my personal opinion. Like I said, I do feel like they trade people off. I do feel like he knew how much time I was gonna get. And I feel like, other factors in play, maybe the prosecutor or whatever the case, I feel like they kind of felt like Okay, you know how much he's gonna get, but you're not making it look good. Like you're not even gonna give him a mitigation specialist. You expect us to get him 12 years. I just because if it didn't, I just know that whatever caused him to change his mind had nothing to do with me because he didn't give a fuck about me. Whatever caused him to change his mind to get me a mitigation specialist had everything to do with him. Because if it was up to him, he just would have had me go out there and thinking I couldn't get one. So yeah, I don't know. It's fucking weird. It's weird.
Got it. And so now you are in prison, and you said you learned a lot, you developed a lot, you had a plan for when you came back and you started developing your art and wanting to become a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Um, how does that come about? What was your time like in prison? Be as detailed as you want, and I'll just step in when I want to clarify.
So when I was in prison, I mean when I was in county, I really didn't have any contact with any family members. My aunt, who I call my mom, like I remember she wrote me a couple times. Um the homie's mom, who I told you was like a hood mom, she probably wrote me the most. And I remember the first time I got any money in jail was from her, and she had sent me $20. But in that same post, in that same, she sent me $20. But then I got a postcard from her, and she was explaining to me that she was in a homeless shelter with her daughter, and that's just something I'll never forget. Like it just meant a lot to me. But I
Wait,
was
she
really,
gave you $20 while she was in the homeless shelter with her daughter.
yeah, because she views me as her child. She views me as like one of hers. And like she's just like, I love you, I miss you, I'm so sorry you're going through this. I don't have much right now, but this is what I can do for you. And yeah, I just never forget that. You know what I'm saying? I just never forget that. And yeah, she's been through some shit too. But yeah, so she did that.
Are you
But
in contact with her still?
yeah, I just actually finally seen her. Um, I just finally seen her probably like 2 weeks ago. Not seen her personally, but she moved back home. Somebody had FaceTime me and she was there. I seen her. We cried a little bit, chopped it up, and true to the theme, I was like, I don't have much money, but I can help you right now. So
Yeah.
I send her some money, help her out, shit like that, and just let her know that you know I got I'll never forget about her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of did divert the story, but so you were there in prison and you were coming up with a plan, you were figuring things out. Take us through that again.
Um, yeah. So at this point, I really didn't have any like direction going through county, nothing like that. Once I found out how much time I was gonna do, the only thing I knew at this point was I like to work out, so I have been working out pretty extensively. I wasn't no model inmate. I was getting into fights, going to the hole, stuff like that. Learning like the politics, the dynamic of prison, a jail. Like I said, in Arizona, they're trying to stop it now, but everything is heavily segregated based off of race. You'll be walking in the pod, and then a white person will take their shirt off, and they'll have swastikas and Klan members tattooed all over them. And then you'll see like different races have different things that mean different things, and you can literally look at somebody's tattoos, and you will be able to tell that they killed somebody with your skin, with your same skin tone, because they had your skin. You know what I'm saying? So I'm peeping the scenery. I'm paying attention to everything. I'm seeing the dynamic. Black people in Arizona State Prison are public enemy number one. If something happens, all the other races will click up against the black people. Um, Even in prison, it's the same. Like if you're on a 4 yard, I'm gonna get into all the custody levels, but just to give you an example, like a Mexican and a Native American can live together in a cell, right? For example, a Paisa and a Chicano can live together in a cell. No race can live with a black person. If you are in a cell with a black person, you are in danger. Literally, you don't know what they're gonna do to you, but you are in physical harm. And so sometimes what the police would do in county, they would move, somebody into the cell with a black person, try to put a black person into a cell with a white person. And sometimes these people would just fight for the cell. Sometimes, the pod would come together and force the police to move them. You feel what I'm saying? Like, but they would do that a lot just to do it. Like they'll put you in a cell with somebody that's not your race, and you when you find in a locked cell, like you don't know when it's gonna stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, wait, why is it? I understand the segregation bit, and black people are public enemy number one in Arizona. Um, the prison system. Why is it that you guys cannot share a cell?
because we're black. Period. Because we're black. Now on lower custody levels, they would do that when the cell doors open all day. But I was in max custody, and just a different type of time. It's just a different type of feel. You know, you have minimum custody jail, medium custody jail, max custody jail. I was in max custody jail based off of my charges. And if you ever go to jail and you're labeled max custody, you always go to max custody. So like the everybody there was either max custody crimes before or max custody crime right now. A lot of people there had already been to prison, which is the same with like other jails as well. But it was just a different type of time. There were people that were important in terms of like prison politics that they would be more likely they're gonna be in the jail I was at. I was at Fourth Avenue Jail in Arizona.
But so what? Give run this example out. A white guy and a black guy are in the cell, sharing cell. What happens?
Somebody got to go. Period. Somebody's gonna leave. Now, how somebody leaves is up to the dynamic of the pod, who's in the pod, and like the type of time that's in the pod. Because different pods have different cultures. You might go to a pod where like everybody's cool, they like to joke around a lot. You got to go to another pod and there's always a lot of tension. You might go to another pod and like these two races are cool, but they hate these. You know what I'm saying? You just every pod is its own little world. So a lot of that factors into it. But yeah,
Were you in the same prison as your co-defendants?
I was in the same jail as my co-defendants, but
Uh,
not the same pod though. Except
uh,
for my the one out from minors, yeah.
got it. All right. So we're in the adult section. You don't know anyone there.
I knew my cellie from the streets. I had met him before on the streets, and my co-defendant, the one that got transferred from minors, they moved him to the same pod as me.
Got it. And so was it like a group? How do you get protection? What are the
Well,
ways someone get protection?
so in minors, you have to if you're black, you have to fight another race to be with the black people. I thought the same was true in adults, but it's not like that. So what they do is you go into prison and you roll with your race. Now, if your race isn't deep in prison, like say for example, like somebody that's Chinese, there's not a lot of Chinese people in Arizona State prison and stuff like that. You can pick who you want to go. You can pick who you roll with. So you pick who you ride with, and but besides that, it's just based off your race. Now, once you come in, and I'm black, I roll with the blacks. It's pretty much automatic, for lack of a better term. There's different levels of this shit. It's automatic camaraderie because you're gonna come in there and they're gonna ask you, "Are you good? Do you have hygiene? What are your charges? Like, what's your door card?" They want to make sure you're not in there for nothing weird. They help you make your bed and everything, and then they'll kind of just explain to you what's going on. They had to explain pretty much everything to me because I was brand new, and yeah, and if 9 times out of 10, if you're working out, you're gonna be working out with black people. If you're eating, you're gonna be eating with the black people. If you're playing cards, your teammate will be a black person because you could be playing cards with another race and they could be throwing the game to let the other team win and they split the money. You feel what I'm saying? Like everything, that's how it is. So you get protection from primarily yourself, but then like you will be like integrated in the community based off of your race.
Are there people, black people who were rejected from groups and being protected? And what would cause someone to be rejected?
Um, if you're a snitch, if you are, I'll put you like this. If you are to the point to where, and I've said this before in the yard because I didn't like the way some shit played out. If it's to the point where the community won't defend you, then you don't you need to leave. You need to leave. Because for you to be rejected by the community would mean that you are in isolation. Now, if you are in isolation, that means that anybody can do whatever they want to you, right? So let's just say that another race jumps a black person, mind you. If this black person is hated by every black person in the pod, it don't fucking matter because you now they jump this black person. Now it's setting a precedent. Now it's looking like the blacks will go for anything. Now it's looking like the black people will let you do something and there'll be no retaliation. That's a dangerous game to play. You cannot play those type of games. That's why if there's problems, if somebody needs like sometimes they let people fight head up, but like if somebody needs to leave or they've done something to where they can't be in the pod no more, let's just say a black person steals something from a Mexican, right? That black person is a thief now, and a thief is no good. So what we say in there is a piece of shit. You're not allowed to be around anymore. You have to leave, right? Now, if we give you a chance to leave, you don't want to leave. Now we got to beat you until the police come and get you, right? It's not. Nobody else can do that. You can't have two white boys and a Mexican jump a black person because the black person was in the wrong. You go to the everybody does this. You go to the race and the race handles it in house. Because any type of physical altercation between races can turn into a riot. Any type of physical altercation between races can like leave bad blood. You just don't do that. You know what I'm saying? You just don't do that. So if it's to the point where you're rejected from the community, it's probably you've done something very bad and you just can't be there no more. But you're not gonna be around and like in isolation because then you've however you are, you're reflecting the community. So if
When
it's
you
that bad,
say
you just gotta go.
when you say you have to leave the pod, do you have a choice?
Hell
If
nah. When it's time for you to go, you finna leave one way or another. You're done. You're leaving for sure. When the decision is made that you gonna leave, you're finna leave. Now you can leave on a stretcher or you can leave cuffed up by the police because you just tell them you can't be here no more. Sometimes it's not a stretcher, sometimes it's a wheelchair. Sometimes they're able to walk on their own. They might just need a little bit of help.
do
There's
you
levels.
think do you think that so it was completely segregated? Do you think that there was real camaraderie, like even within such violence? Do you think there was like any true camaraderie among the groups?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, there's two things that is very apparent when you're incarcerated. People bond in prison, like say you don't know each other from the streets, from getting money together and getting in trouble together or getting through something together. Right. So if there's a situation going on, like one time I had got into a fight and I got into a fight because this dude that was not black, him and all his homies were drinking, and he was going through an older black man's. He was going through his possessions, trying to steal something from him, right? And so when we came across it, I was with the older black dude, mind you. I'm like 19. Oh no, I'm 18 at the time, and this black dude's probably like 50, but he's not a fighter. Like he's literally somebody who just broke the law. Not excusing it, but if you see the inside of a jail, you'll see that there's levels to shit. Like you have people that are real criminals, and then there's people that end up in jail. That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah.
And he was one of the people that just ended up in jail. You know what I'm saying? So So I fought this dude for him because I told him like, "Hey, don't be doing that. Like, you're not supposed to be doing that." He was feeling himself. He had a lot of size on me. He was older than me. Had been to prison. I guess he felt like because of all that he was immune to whatever the fuck I was coming with, and he wasn't. So I get into it with this dude. After I fight this dude, he's still mad. He still wants to fight, but because I'm like the baby. I'm like the baby of the pod. Like most of the time, wherever I would go, I was always the youngest because I was so young. And so while on one hand, people like the fact that, this little youngster would hold his own, on the other hand, they felt the need to protect me. And so my celly, who I knew from the streets, who wasn't my celly anymore at the time, he seen this dude was still tripping. And I'm not tripping. Like I still run it. Like I did not care. Like we could still catch the fade. So dude try to run up on me, they break it up, whatever, whatever. So my celly's like, hey, like, you need to chill out. Like, you trying to get on my little Brody, whoop, whoop. So they end up catching the fade. Now he does my celly bad, bro. Like my celly don't fare well out of this. You feel what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And so when this happens, they end up getting caught, they end up going to the hole. And like what you'll see though is like when this happens, then like when you come back out, there's still tension. Like people will go around, they call it politicking to see if everything's all good. But there's been plenty instances where something can happen and it will literally spread across the state. It'll be a race war, like across the state. Literally. Like people will be ambushed, people will be stabbed, like out of nowhere. I've been on yards with this one dude. He was playing poker with nobody black around him when he was playing poker. He didn't know that somebody had been unalived or murdered in another yard. And because of that, it started like retaliation across the state. And he was just sitting there minding his business playing poker. And the next thing you know, he was getting stabbed and jumped. He was getting stabbed in his face and assaulted and stomped out. You feel what I'm saying? And then after that happened, the blacks retaliated, and then so the camaraderie, even if it's not always fully authentic, it's like a respecting, like a standard. It's like a standard that every race wants to uphold. That if you do something to one of us, it's not no cakewalk. Like you can't, because then you get perceived as weak. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So you can't have that.
So you were in there in all of this chaos and seemingly high level cruelty. How do you start thinking about the future? Um, you also have advice from prison. I think you're doing a series about the advice you were getting from people while you were incarcerated. Um, how do you get to that?
So a lot of that advice that I'm giving, like lesson I learned in prison, is like most of the time it's like me coming to my own conclusions. But I remember going to prison, um, getting I was on a 3 yard, basically the custody level, lowest is a 2, highest is a 5. You go there based off of your crime, how much time you're doing, and like your behavior. You know what I'm saying? So I was on a 3 yard, kept getting into trouble, went to a different 3 yard because I lied for somebody that was chasing somebody around with a knife. The police knew I lied about it, so they was mad that I lied for my homeboy, sent me to another 3 yard. And this 3 yard was much more serious than the other 3 yard I was on. But because I had been in getting so much trouble, they sent me to the 4 yard. Now it's in this 4 yard in Arizona State Prison, Winslow Complex. This is where like I really where like I started hitting my stride in terms of like personal development. I had been introduced to the concept of personal development in some books on the 3 yard I was on before, because there was this older dude who he was an older OG dude, but he seen that I wasn't dumb and I wanted to learn. And so he kind of would like he would give me books, and like he was kind of an asshole a lot of the time, but he was an asshole in a way that would teach me lessons. And he's actually the reason I stopped like smoking spice, which is a big thing in prison, because I was like, I need to get some money. And at this point, I had family support, but I was like, I need to get some money, save up some money, help take care of my sisters. You know what I'm saying? And so my homie I was in county with, he had a whole bunch of stuff, and I asked him for some, and he was like, no, because you smoke it. And so this OG dude was like, "Hey, well, if you stop smoking today, I'll make him give you some." So I stopped smoking that day. I stopped smoking cigarettes a couple days later, and I came back a week later, and I was like, "Let me get some." And then from there, I took off running, hustling. But also, this older dude was giving me books to read, and he would tell me to read the book and come back and tell him what I read. And then he would challenge my thoughts, and I would read a book and give it to him. He'd tell me to go read it again because I read it too fast. And so he seen something in me, so he was trying to mold me. And to be honest with you, this was like a theme that had been consistent throughout my time and even my life. And I just gravitated towards older people in general in prison because um they I wasn't like I would get into trouble, but I wasn't like an ignorant youngster. Like I wasn't just like a loudmouth, just dumb youngster. I was just like I would work out and I would hustle, and if something needed to be done, like I'd be willing to do it. You know what I'm saying? So they liked me for that reason. And one day when I was on the 4 yard, I had been on the 4 yard. Um, they locked us in this cage. So you're locked in the cage before you go into the chow hall. And I had like 9 years left at this point, and I was just thinking like, what am I gonna do with my life? I'm like, what am I gonna do with my life? I have this murder on my record. I don't have any work experience. I've never had anything. I don't have any credit. You know what I'm saying? At this point, I didn't have a college degree. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do? Well, I always wanted to be a tattoo artist because of my mom. I thought about it and I'm like, well, it's not a corporate job. A lot of them are owned like from like a person, not a corporation. That will give me a better chance in terms of like a background check. I can learn to draw in here. I can take my time and learn how to tattoo in here. If I want to, I could use prison as the foundation for all my future successes. And I told myself in that moment I was gonna make prison the best thing that ever happened to me. And from that day forward, like I definitely didn't have a clear path. I definitely still, trying to get where I'm going. But I every day from that point on, I led with the intention of like coming back into society as somebody who would make it. And that's what I did.
By the way, is spice tobacco mixed with weed?
Hell nah. Spice is like this like so it's supposed to be synthetic weed when it first came out to be honest with you, now it's closer to Sherm. Like it fucks people up. Like they have episodes like yeah, like if we get to that point, but there's a point in my time where like it was a we called it a pandemic, and like everybody was tripping off of spice, having episodes, which means like they're out of their mind. Some people will literally just beat their head against the wall. Some people will shit their pants. Some people will try to sexually assault people. Some people will like lose control of their limbs. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah,
Maybe that wasn't spies. Like they're trying to sexually assault people might not have been spies. Um,
yeah.
so you are now trying to figure out what you're going to do. You're thinking about the future. Is this one of the first times you started thinking about the future?
It was. It was
Like
the.
meaningfully.
It was the. It was the first time I made a a real decision about my future. I had played with the idea like, oh, getting out, and you want to get out, but I didn't really have any concrete direction. But I realized I needed to get it. So when you get locked up, people tell you always forget the streets, don't worry about the streets, forget about the streets. I never did that. The first day I hit prison, I went to my CO3 and I asked them when's my release date. They told me my release date, which was 10 and a half years into the future, and I never forgot it, but I still didn't have any direction. But I noticed a theme during my time, early on in my time, which was that older people would say that they wish they knew now what they wish they knew then what they knew now, and they would say that the state doesn't give a fuck about you. I heard this so much, it was impossible for me not to detect a pattern. So what I did is I thought about it. I'm like, so everybody wishes that the knowledge they had 10 years in at this point they had 10 years ago. Okay, I need to hang out with older people, get as much of their current knowledge as I can, so that way when I get to their point, I can't know everything, but I'll be more prepared than they were when they got to this point to combat whatever's going on. And then they told me consistently that the state does not care about you. And I looked around and I'm thinking, okay, well, everybody's telling me that the state doesn't care about you. They don't care about your education, your health. They don't care about your mind, but neither do y'all. Like I'm looking at you guys, the way you behave, the way you act, the substances you put in your body, how you spend your time. They don't care, but you don't care either. So I made a decision that I'm gonna care. Cause I seen if I don't care about how I do my time, if I don't care about coming back as a human being, I'm fucked, and I didn't want to be like that. So it was that first instance where I made like a decision, and I've just been rocking with it ever since.
Got it. Were the people around you supportive in person? In the pod, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, they were. And it goes back into what I was talking about earlier with initiating bullshit. Because as while I was, on my personal development journey and I was taking it very seriously, like I'm talking about reading a dictionary. You feel what I'm saying? Like really trying to like I just got excited with the idea because now what had happened is ironically, I felt in control of my life. I read a few books. I understood the power of the mind better than ever. I came to believe in manifestation, and I felt free. What I first had to do was accept that wherever I was at that point was completely my fault. So that's why sometimes, I still come across like that because I went through this period of extreme accountability and hampered it down because it kind of fucked with my compassion and my ability to practice empathy with other people, but I still use it on myself a lot. And once I accepted that everything that happened in my life up to that point was my fault, it gave me the idea that everything that happens in the future is up to me. And so because I started wrestling with the idea of freedom, even though I'm locked down, um, I just got excited. And so I just kept working on myself. And I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, I have a personal question and I'm trying to figure out how to ask it. But how far do you take the idea that everything that happens to you is your fault?
I took that to the extreme. Like the extreme. But let me put it to you like this. I understand. I understand. The truth is never, almost never to be found on the radical end of something. The
Yeah.
truth is almost never to be found on the radical end of something. It's more so in the middle. I understand that I sound very radical in extreme accountability because it was, but what I realized is I did not have, I did not trust myself with a gray area because I'm
Mm.
like, okay, I need to lock in. So I had to make it very simple for myself, which was this is okay, this is not okay. all this is your fault, but you can turn it into this. Because if I left any type of wiggle room, I could see myself trying to validate my excuses. And I felt like I didn't have the luxury to validate excuses at this point in my life, because it literally felt like it was like do or die. Like, you need to change. So you need to be hard on yourself. And so that's why I was like, well, everything's my fault. It's my fault for how I responded to this. And this is actually a concept that I would read much more. It was articulated much more beautifully in a book by Viktor Frankl called damn, I can't remember the name of the book, but that's what his whole Man's Search for Meaning. This man was in a concentration camp, and he wrote a book through his experience. The overall theme of the book is that you have stimulus and then you have action, but always in between those two things is choice. You always have choice. And that yeah, I went through that phase of extreme accountability because it magnified my ability to choose, because I got tired of feeling helpless. So is every single thing in my life that happened to me my fault? No. I mean, I didn't choose to be born over here, be born into this. I didn't choose to be, a lot of things. But how I dealt with what was handed to me is my fault. And so I just dialed in on that. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm here now. So what are we going to do next?
Got it. So you are learning, you're going through a personal development, and you're about to be free. What happens at this point? How are you thinking about the world outside and acclimating to it?
I'm thinking about the world in terms of, so as I'm going through these phases, because I believed everything was my fault, I pounded that into my mind. I also believe that everything is up to me. So I viewed the world as nothing more than a mirror to who I was, like my internal state and like the level that I took my skill acquisition to. So literally, the better I got, the better the world became to me. Like the more I expanded my vocabulary, the more I wrote poems and worked out and learned to draw, and the better I got, like the more opportunity I seen in the world. Because something that people told me, which was true, which was I didn't have real world experience. I got locked up as a kid and I didn't lose anything. I didn't lose a house, I didn't lose a car. I never had a bill. I never paid a bill. I never did anything. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. And people would tell me that, you know, that is, you don't know how the world is, you don't know how, you don't understand this, you don't understand that. Like, they would use it as something to use against me. However, I truly believe that that was one of my strongest advantages, going to jail so young. And I use the word advantage very intentionally because language is important. And this is how I framed my mind, because I lacked real world experience. I lacked real world, what they call losses. Like, a lot of people in prison are very beat down and they have no hope. Me, I have been through some shit, but I was like, shit, I'm still super young though. And because I didn't really knew how the real world worked, I just chose to believe what I was hearing in these podcasts and reading in these books. And so I would read these books about opportunity and personal development and like understanding your mind and how you could do anything. And I believed every single word. I just held on to every single word. And my view of the world was dictated by my belief in myself. And so that's, I just had like this self-sustaining relationship, like codependent relationship between the world and who I was. And I just felt like the better I was, and not just like the better I was like in technical skills, like being able to draw and tattoo. I truly believe the better I was as a person, the better the world would be to me. So I started trying to work on like my humanity, and trying to work on like compassion, and operate from a sense of morality. And like, there's shit that happens in prison where it's like, okay, well, this is a negative situation overall. Like, we're talking about a drug deal. However, there's a right way and wrong way to go about it. And so I would always push for what was righteous. Like, okay, look, you guys are doing some fuck shit to begin with, but you owe him. You should pay him. Shit like that.
Got it. And so you come out into the world. How are you able to situate your life?
Um, well, first and foremost, the biggest thing that has helped me outside of myself is like family support. So my aunt, who I call my mom, she had this idea the whole time. She's like, "Look, when you get out, when you and your brother get out of prison, you can come with me so you get on your feet, and then like help you reintegrate back into society successfully." But as far as me, it's been me sticking to the script. Like everything I did for years was to put me in a position that more or less that I'm in right now. Literally, even being here with you, everything was very intentional. Um, Everything. I used to, even me going to college, I ended up getting my bachelor's degree, me working on my vocabulary,
Wait,
everything.
you got your degree in prison?
Yeah, I got my bachelor's degree in prison,
Nice. What did you study?
communications and business.
Got it. Um, what was that like? What was the process like? How did you enjoy it? And do you plan on any further studying?
The process, I had been wanting to go to college for a minute, but I kept getting in trouble, so I wasn't eligible to go to college. And then I ended up getting in trouble inside of prison. Um, they gave me basically I ended up on the highest level yard you could be on, 24-hour lockdown. Like you're just locked down, bro. You feel me? I spent almost 2 years up there straight. I was up there for 21 months, and there was a lot of shit that like whatever. I ended up getting out of there, but while I was in there, I told myself, okay, this time when I get out, I'm gonna go to school. So I ended up getting out of the 5 yard, which is essentially, no exaggeration, a prison within a fucking prison, a prison within a prison. And one of the first things I see when I'm going to child for the first time, I see a sign up sheet for school. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, shit, it's my opportunity. So I signed up for school. And it was like at the very beginning or right before my first semester that my mom had passed away, which fucked me up, which, I'm saying, that shit destroyed me. But, once again, I was already on this type of time to where it was almost like nothing could, everything I viewed it in a way that would help me in whatever I was doing. So when my mother had passed away, I was completely distraught. I was devastated. And, to this day, I don't feel like I grieve properly. Um, it's still in there. It's just buried. You know what I'm saying? But when she had passed away, I told myself that this is an opportunity to show yourself how serious you are about getting your degree because you're broken. Okay, that's fine. I admit to being broken, but can you still get this done while you're broken? And I told myself I could still do it. Like I'll write a paper crying, but I'll write the paper. You feel me? So, I mean, that was probably like the most. Yeah, that was trash, bro. But through that process, going to school, it felt good. Felt good going to school, educating myself, learning. Um, I got like I made the dean's list every semester. I graduated like summa cum laude or whatever they say. I don't know how they say it. Um, and yeah, it felt good because I seen, it was a clear example of like how bad, like, do you really want it? And I remember signing up for school and we go into the orientation, we filling out our FAFSAs, and there's a room full of people and everybody's talking about how they want to do this and do that, and they're so excited for this and that. And I'm just like, cool, whatever. And I remember they was asking like, how many classes do you want to take? The most you could take at the time, the most you could take in prison is four. It's four classes at a time. So I remember thinking to myself, the dude giving the speech was like, everybody should take one class, take one class, don't get overwhelmed, this and that, whatever, whatever. But I had did the math and I'm like, if I take four classes at a time, I can graduate I'll graduate right before I get released. So I didn't feel like I had the luxury to like ease into it. And I heard the voice of this motivational speaker. His name's Eric Thomas. He's one of my favorite. And he has this thing. He says, when you want it as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. And he said, most of y'all don't want to be successful bad. You just kind of want it. And I heard that in my mind. And I just kind of looked around and I kind of asked a few people, how many? And they're like, oh, I'm gonna take one. I'm gonna take two. I was like, man, I don't give a fuck about none of that. I'm taking four because I'm very like extreme. I'm very like black and white on and off. I'm like, man, I'm taking four classes. I don't give a fuck. So I took four classes and it felt good to like walk the yard with a stack of books. It felt good to walk the yard with a stack of books and people, being like, "Damn, bro, I don't know how you do it," or "Damn, bro, like congratulations," or you know what I'm saying. It felt good. I took honor and I took pride in like being willing to work harder than people that said they wanted the same thing of me, which was a college degree. And then I seen every semester they could, because you got to turn in your books and then you go get your books at the beginning of the new semester. Every semester it's less and less people. It's like, damn, at first it was like 40 of us. And now we go to get our books again, and now there's 25. And now we go to get our books again, and there's six of y'all. And now we go to get our books again, and it's just two. So I'm seeing people drop off. Boom, boom, boom. And it's just kind of this drove it into my mind even more. Like there was a lot of lessons in this, being willing to outwork people and also understanding that sometimes it's just about dedication, because a lot of the things that we want in life, if somebody doesn't want it as bad as you, they're just gonna quit. They're just gonna quit. And a lot of winning is done by default. Not to take nothing away from the shit that people earn, but a lot of
Yeah.
it is just by like longevity. And
No, I
it's
agree. Fully
yeah,
agree. Fully
yeah,
agree.
just not quitting. And so there was a lot of life lessons. It expanded my mind, and I enjoyed writing papers, and it just farther drove home to what you mentioned earlier, which is what would your life have been if it wasn't for all these things. But it's also very important to me to make the best of my life, because the better I make my life, the more at peace I feel with everything I've been through. You feel what I'm saying?
Okay. What was one of your favorite papers to write, and do you still write?
One of my favorite papers to write was hmm, I enjoyed this paper I had to write. Um, well, I can't really remember the exact subject I had to write about, but I remember enjoying writing papers for this class, which was American history up through the Civil War. I really liked writing
Wait, what
papers
was the
for
Civil War? What was the Civil War about? States' rights or slavery?
state. I mean,
Ignore it. Do not
no, no,
answer
no, no,
that.
no, no. I'm not gonna know it because I feel like people try to like rewrite history and hide the past. To me, point blank period, the Civil War was about slavery because the main state right that people were upset about because it was a moneymaker was free labor, was slavery. That's at point blank period. Like they didn't want to have to give up slavery because they were making a motherfucking killing off of cotton and tobacco and they was getting it from free labor. That's just what
Got
it
it.
is.
Agreed. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So yeah, and writing that I enjoyed writing those papers. And and then you asked me another question. Oh, do I still write? Um oh, matter of fact, you know what? My favorite paper that I wrote, my favorite paper that I wrote actually was this paper about I wrote it for not school, but like the school newsletter. And I wrote it because the premise was that, I like to sit back and think and wonder like the origin of a lot of stuff that we have today. And I think myths have a lot of like they start with truth and it exaggerates over time and it becomes a myth. And I was just kind of playing with the idea of like a shapeshifter. And then I remember my paper was pretty much saying that I believe shapeshifters are real and I believe that there's a real message in them, but not in terms of what we see on TV. I believe that it's a metaphor for a human being. Because I said I was a 17-year-old gangbanger who was lost in life, and now I am a college graduate, graduating with honors. Like you can be whatever you want to be. It's not going to be an instant shift like in the movies, but at the end of the day, human beings are the closest thing to shapeshifters that we've ever seen because there's nothing that can hold you back. You can cultivate your mind and program your mind to think how you want it to think. You can build your body to do what you want it to do. And I think human transformation is like the most beautiful thing that um I've been blessed to see in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The ease with which we disregard people who do not live up to our standards is actually quite frustrating, and it undermines the humanity in us and in other people. I'm curious though around your articulation of metamorphosis, of change and developing. Do you think, because I'm listening to you speak, and you were in one of, I'm assuming one of the hardest circumstances one could be in, and you were able to develop. And that is due to a kind of mental toughness that not everyone has. You don't have to know the answer to this, but what do you think creates that kind of persistence?
I think that I think that if I could lay out a roadmap to persistence, long story short, is self belief. A more complex answer would be programming yourself. But I truly do not believe that people act against their own knowledge. I do not believe that people will know something will work, but choose not to do it if they want the results of whatever that is. Maybe you know it'll work objectively, but you don't know that you can pull it off. Maybe because, like, if I don't want to burn my hand and I know this fire is going to burn my hand, I'm not going to put my hand in the fire. And I just took as much shit as I could and boiled it down, almost oversimplified it to a way to where there was no room for misunderstanding. And I just told myself, do you want to do it or not? Period. Do you want to do it? Okay, you want to do it. Do you believe you can do it? Sometimes it was no, sometimes it was yes. Okay, let's just say I don't believe I can do it. What's the next step? Do you believe you can learn to do it? And 9 times out of 10, my answer is always yes. And because my answer is yes, and I believe, I don't give a fuck about what I was born able to do. I don't use the word talent. I think talent is a terrible word and it discourages children. Like it discouraged me, and I feel like I'm not the only child that experienced it. Talent, it implies like inherent ability. Like talent implies like you were born to do something. Don't want nobody born to do shit. I don't give a fuck. You shoot a basketball one time and you make it, okay, cool. The next time you shoot that ball and you try to make it, you have engaged in intentional practice. I believe in skill acquisition and I believe in practice. I don't believe in natural talent. So, with that being said, once I got on that type of time, and it kind of me falling back on working out and art is like what I usually use to remind myself that I can do whatever I want to do. If I want to do something and I don't know how to do it, I don't care because I truly believe that I can learn how to do it. And just like, everybody, you start life and you don't know anything. You can't walk, you can't talk, you can't drive a car, you don't know how to use a cell phone, nothing. Every day is a reminder of how much skill and knowledge you've gained throughout your lifetime. So you don't have to stop. If something's a little harder, okay, put in more time. But that right there is where I believe that type of mentality is born and it will never fail you because it's not predicated on what you can currently do. It's predicated on what you believe you can learn. And you can learn anything.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think the philosophy I have is similar, except I do believe there's talent, obviously, but I do agree that hard work supersedes talent. Um, I can
Yeah.
outwork anyone any day in my mind, so I
Right,
do
right.
appreciate that. Um, when you got out, what are you doing now? And what is the rest of the plan?
So, before I got out, I had shared with my family, over the years, I made a plan. I'm like, this is my plan. And so, my aunt and my cousins, they had set up my social media platforms. They had set up my TikTok, my Instagram, and because I told them I want to build a brand, I want to do this, this, and that. I got out. They flew in to see me. I got out the 17th. They were here on the 19th. They gave me my phone. My account was already made, and I started making content. And I had already been drawing and tattooing in prison. And I had a plan. I just been acting out that plan. It's just been nothing but implementing my plan since I've been released. And the vision is to build a platform, to bring awareness to, because at the end of the day, the details will differ, but as far as like human beings, we all go through life and the themes are the same. You will be heartbroken, you will be in pain, you're gonna go through betrayal, maybe you might battle depression, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these things are the same. So
Wait, when did you get out? Sorry.
I got out February 17th of 2025.
Ah, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
So I want to build a platform that inspires people and empowers people. Tell my story, not because I want to be the main focus of attention, but to tell my story because I feel like, and this is true with anybody, some people I'm meant to reach and I can reach them. There's people you're meant to reach and you can reach them. So, everybody shows up as their authentic self and, try to leave a footprint that is more good than bad of my life when I leave for real.
Are you currently processing with like a professional, a therapist, or something like that?
Um, I did therapy when I was in prison. I'm not saying it was like top notch therapy, you know what I'm saying? But I have spent a lot of time reading books and listening to podcasts about a variety of subjects, mostly about personal development. And I just kind of felt like she was asking me questions that I have already asked myself. She was telling me like, I mean, she was trying to help me and she was very nice, but I just remember after going a couple times and I went with different people, I was like, I just don't think this is for me because it just wasn't. I mean, yeah, no, I'm not. I don't plan on going to therapy. No.
Have you a career? So I disclosure, I did not like my therapy experience because I thought they were too nice. And I wanted a more sort of drill sergeant kind of approach, and that's not therapy. And I was told by my therapist that that's a kind of career coach. Um, I don't want you to forego therapy because you think it's not for you, but I cannot tell you what to do. I can say my experience was not great with therapy either. But it might just be finding the right fit with a good therapist. But I'm just putting that out there without telling you to do anything.
Okay.
Um, so, is there anything that you did not touch on that you wanted to touch on?
Mm, nah, I can't think of anything. I feel like this has been great. I feel like you've asked me enough questions to kind of like steer the steer it, but like allow me enough space to speak my mind, and I feel like I'm happy with everything.
Awesome. Do you have any questions for me?
So knowing my story and knowing what you know about me, if you had to give me a piece of advice for success that I could not deny it. Like whatever you tell me, I have to implement it. What would you tell me?
I would tell you to try as much as you can to enjoy life while you have it. Um, I don't tell that to very many people because the advice to many people is you need to put your head down and work. You need to go harder. You need to go harder. But I think the way that you've described your mentality with black and white, which is very useful in terms of getting you to where you need to go. Yes, you did bad things, and I don't ever want you to forget the bad things that you did. And I want you to reflect. I want you to always try to make amends where you can, but also take care of yourself and enjoy the small moments because that too can build resentment. And as I'm hearing you talk, we don't know each other, right? So I don't know the truth of your soul. But what I heard was a lot of beating yourself up, and while it is fun for people who want retribution to see you beat yourself up, a better use of that energy is to help others. Um, and so if you are willing to help others and give more than you take, then you're in a good spot, but also enjoy as much of life as you can. You have only been out for a year now. I'm sure adjusting was difficult. I'm sure you're going through a lot. I've been working with people who cannot get jobs because of, oh, sorry, I used to work with people who cannot get jobs because of a criminal record. And I can't imagine what that process is for you, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. So keep your mentality how it is, law of attraction it up, do what you can, but also enjoy the freedom, the time you have. That's it for me. But
Appreciate it.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna go into the after show, and then I'll end the live stream after the after show, and we can talk behind the scenes. But the after show is kind of to debrief. So um, you can stay up with me as I debrief with the chat and tell them what I saw. And then you can jump in, and then we'll end and talk behind the scene for a second. Um, all right. Thank you all so much for watching. You don't have to say everyone in the chat. This is the after show. It's gonna be really quick. I just wanted to talk about the chat, what I've seen, and how you guys reacted, and I also want to just show my appreciation. So give me 2 seconds, and we'll be there. Um, So, first of all, thank you all for allowing me this platform to be able to talk to people. And Raja, I appreciate you coming on. I I appreciate the way that you guys have been engaging, and it is okay to acknowledge things that are good and things that are going well, and acknowledge even harm and growth and all of that. And so, watching the chat and seeing how you guys have been engaging generally, there are some misses, but generally, I do really appreciate that. So, thank you all for being here. Thank you so much, Mr. Rose, for sharing your time with us. Um, I did appreciate it. I enjoyed the conversation. I wasn't only not interrupting because I was controlling myself, I was not interrupting because I thought your story is interesting, and I wanted to hear more. So I do appreciate you coming and sharing with us. You
Thank you.
asked me for advice. I will ask you to give us any advice that you have.
Um, I would say the main piece of advice that I would give people is to, if you want any type of change, I would just say, if you haven't already, to stop and take the time to really understand the power of your mind and understand that your mind is not set in stone, and you can literally learn whatever you want. And I truly believe that outside of like some extreme bullshit, you should only choose to believe stuff that empowers you. Because the more you can stack on these themes of empowerment in your mind and act on them, because you don't just want to be delusional, the more control you'll see you have over your mind. And there's a lot going on: economy, country, politics, family shit, whatever you have going on. Just play with the idea that at the end of the day, nothing matters more in your life than what you think. And, just be happy. Like, be happy. Whatever outcomes you want in life, chase them and enjoy the journey while you chasing them. And if you can help somebody along the way, help them out. And
Yeah.
that's it.
I they wanted to know your Mistress Monica, thank you for being a member for 46 months. I appreciate that. Um, they wanted you to drop your socials.
Oh, yeah. So I'm mainly on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And all of my socials are the exact same: Raja Rose, Rahja Rose. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube are where you'll primarily find me. And it's the same on every platform.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. And if at any point any of this becomes an issue, let me know. I'm willing to edit and remove videos, but I just wanted to say that publicly so you can hold me accountable to that if it ever comes up. All right. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to end the stream now. Um, Raj and I, we can talk for like 2 seconds. We've had you for like 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I appreciate you spending the time.
I
And
appreciate you having me.
I will be back home next week. next week from traveling, so I will be able to go live and we can talk. I will not allow people to come up and ask questions today. You guys can do that next week with me and we'll talk about this and debrief because I cannot control you all and I don't want to, but out of respect for the guests, I will not be doing that today. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.